Good afternoon. Another brand edition of the program 60 Minutes Nigeria. It promises to be an exciting package. Today's program, we are looking at what is actually affecting Nigerians. That has to do with the recent protest by organized labor and the strike by organized labor, which actually paralyzed virtually all sectors of the economy. And we are glad that the organized labor eventually suspended the strike, but they've not canceled it. Negotiations are going on, and we believe that this is the best time to dissect this issue. It's a recurring decimal, a recurring factor that must be tackled. My name is Ego Sagbula. Also, welcome to 60 Minutes Nigeria, our current affairs program that affords Nigerians the opportunity to dissect national issues. On set with me today, I have His Royal Highness Ahaji Bako Eberedolu Dogo. He's the chairman of Farmers Association and chairman of all chairmen of that association, Edo State chapter. You're welcome, His Royal Highness.
Thank you so much.
He will be joining us to dissect this issue because he's a leader of people. And we also have with us a very, very renowned legal practitioner and, of course, a professor of law, Professor Job Odion. You are welcome to the program.
Good afternoon, good afternoon, our viewers and audience.
He will also be commenting on this very disturbing trend. Whenever you hear of protest or strike by the organized labor, so many Nigerians are scared because a lot will happen. Like this recent one, the national grid was shut down, and that means blackout nationwide. We understand that when there is a strike, or we're not supposed to, essential duty workers are not supposed to be involved. Professor Job Odion will tell us the legal implication of that, but we understand that the members of the labor unions ensured that the national grid was shut down. So a lot really happened. Nigerians suffered within that short period, and we are not expecting another round of strike again. But the problem must be tackled. So minimum wage imbroglio, minimum wage impasse is the problem. It must be tackled. Labor says they are fighting for workers. They are asking for improved minimum wage. Government initially said 60,000, but they've agreed now to go above 60,000. Negotiations are on, and we hope that it will be fruitful. Mr. President has intervened. We hope that that will yield the needed dividends. The workers, I must tell you, they are on the side of the labor unions, and that makes it very dangerous. So let's start with Professor Job Odion. Now, essential workers by law,
Yes.
they are not supposed to be part of that strike. But the national grid shut down, the airports, no flights, the economy was grounded. So what's the implication of that? Did labor actually perform in accordance to the law? Or there could be exceptions to the law in situations like that?
Well, thank you, Egosa, once more. And, issues of trade unions, labor and industrial issues, really.
Yes.
The legalese or the law as it is should always be the last resort.
Okay.
Because when you want to apply the strict letters of the law, at times you find that you may not be able to yield the desired result for everybody, because the whole idea is about collective bargaining, which is not even enforceable in court. It has to be enforced by another form of industrial action. And so that is why you see that most times the trade unions do not really want to follow the strict letters of the law when it comes to enforcing rights that relate to workers' welfare and other sundry issues that may lead to a trade dispute per se. Even from the notices given for strike actions, picketing, and others, most often the unions often may not comply with those timelines and requirements as regards notices. So where you now find that essential workers in social services like the National Grid and other bodies that have been exempted from any form of industrial action, you see them now joining a strike, it's because they want to make the government and those policymakers feel the heat, the level of their seriousness, about the strike. And in doing that, they undermine the law as it were, because even under the trade union law itself, there are some level of immunity given to trade union officials when they engage in this kind of strike, when they commit any form of wrong, especially when they commit what we call civil wrongs. And so going on strike as an essential worker, they are going to rely on that proviso in the trade union law, and most importantly, that whenever you arrive at a collective bargaining agreement, the first thing that the unions will listen is that no worker should be victimized on account of his role or what he did or did not do during the strike.
Okay.
And so, and government, because you have government by the jugular now, you want to accede to those kind of terms or conditions of the collective agreement. And so once that is signed, it will not be fair anymore for government to go back and look at the law and say, well, you ought not have gone on strike. For this, we want to prosecute those who went on strike, those who went to shut down the National Grid, that have breached the Trade Dispute Act, that have breached the Trade Unions Act, we want to enforce it and all that. That will not be seen in bad faith, because such an attempt again will be met with another round of strike.
Okay.
By the same people
yes.
who want to prosecute for not going on strike. So there's a thin line between law and the trade union and industrial relationship.
Okay.
Also, for us lawyers, we always try to balance it.
Okay, thank you, Professor Joe Bodio. Zoyo Ines Bako, are you disturbed by these frequent strike, industrial action by the organized labor, all about minimum wage? Do you think they're really right? Do you think the federal government is not doing enough to actually avoid this problem?
Well, thank you very much for this opportunity. I think strike is not a new thing in the world, not only Nigeria.
Okay.
It's a way of pressing one's demand. Strike is like a protest between the wife and the husband, because women also go on strike all the time. That's how it is, even your home. At the time your wife faces one side and says you cannot go in, it's strike. So the only problem I have with this present body, for you shutting down the National Grid, it was a problem, and you don't suppose. And I believe they could have been tried for those things. Because if I tell you how many people who are on oxygen that died in the hospital, for you offing the National Grid, we don't support at all. Because the strike affects everybody, including the people who come for the strike. Because when you want to go on strike, you should be ready to say, yes, this thing that I'm doing will also affect me. Will also affect anybody. But I think going on strike is not, there's nothing wrong about it. It's a way of pressing their demands. But the demand should not be infringing of other people's rights by you going down to go and shut down the national Grid. That you know that your relations are in the hospital and they are living by oxygen. And without that, you are doing. Nigeria is not. It's not only Nigeria that is consuming our medicine. We also have other countries that we are also supplying. By doing that, you have any other way to press up your demand to say this is what I want. What they have done, the strike, yes, it was a wake-up development. It makes government to sit tight, and government have now know that without you meeting up to that demand, something like this may happen. But my advice to them, next time they should not go. They should not go the other ways. Very soon, the people will start revolting against them on going to shut down the National Grid, which is only problem I see. Pressing that demand, going on strike. I think I will follow them to observe the strike, because it was a welcome development for you to say, okay, the man who work must get his own pay, must get something that, yes, at the end of the month, I can put things together. That this one will go to the market, this one is for school fees, this one is for this one is for transportation. With the hike of transportation today, I think what they have done is a welcome development. The only area I don't accept with them is for you going to go and shut down the National Grid. Thank you.
Okay, but I'm still going to task you, Zoyo Ines Bako, because you are a chairman of All Farmers Association. Now, looking at the demand of workers, this minimum wage, government initially said, okay, minimum wage should be pegged at 60,000. The labor unions refused. Now, to you, what kind of minimum wage do you think both the federal government and labor unions should be looking at.
Thank you very much. You see, the issue of this minimum wage,
yes.
even though you say you want to start paying workers 1 million, it's not enough. Because there are things surrounding minimum wage that the government have to tackle immediately. Because if you pay workers 20 million or thereabout, you are still going to face a lot of challenges. If things concerning what they are going to spend their money for are not put in place, first of all, security will be paramount in the minds of the government. Welfare will be paramount in the minds of the government. I remember years ago, there's a professor here, I believe the take-up of home of professor here will not be more than 600,000, it'll be 500,000, which is not enough because everybody is looking up to him as a professor. It's not even up to. So it is not that money, but if things surrounding it are put in place, yes. For example, right now, as a farmer, the government tells me, the government can create good things from farming. Say, okay, I want to give loan to farmers. I want everyone to go back to farm. But whatever you farm, at the end of the time, we are going to mop it from you. So that later we'll now release it back to the market by subsidizing it. You see, even though you are taking 30,000 naira, that money will be enough for you because farmers are the engine room of anywhere, any organization. Today, you are coming to work, you must eat. Yeah. Later, you must eat. In the way you want to go to bed, you must eat. That's to tell you that the benefit of the food is number one. If the one they are even doing is going on a strike, if we, the farmers, go on strike, Nigeria will collapse. The president is leaving, the governor is leaving because of food. Without food, you can't move an inch because that is the fuel you put on your vehicle. Yes. Is what you use to provide your energy. So my appeal to the government, anywhere, first of all, look at the things surrounding the minimum wage. Minimum wage is lit you because if you put this thing in order, the man receiving 60,000, just 60,000, will be able to do so many things with 60,000. But if those things are not in order and you are calling for 60,000, that is what you want to do, 70,000. No! Like in Edo State, workers are receiving 70,000. Are they really happy with that 70,000? They take 70,000 to the market or take 100,000 to the market. You can't get anything from it. Sometimes you call your wife witch. So is it whenever you go to the market that things are very expensive, whenever the other people go, things are very cheap. It is not the woman's fault. It's what is happening in the market. And there is no control of anything in the market.
Yeah, price control.
Not price control because the government have not done enough for you to say want to regulate prices of things. If the government have invested massively on agriculture, you will see the government be able to say, this is what I want to be sold, the pepper should be sold. I was passing by the road the last time. I asked him, how much is that pepper? He says 2,000. There's no pepper of 500 naira again in the market. 500 naira pepper, you can chew it today. You can put it in your mouth to chew it. Tomatoes, there's no tomatoes today in Edo State where you sell tomatoes for 1,000 naira. A basket of tomatoes is going for almost about 8,000 now. Just that small basket, small. Because we are not farming tomatoes in Edo State. One, tomatoes farming require a lot of water. And that's you see tomatoes coming from the north are all irrigation farming tomatoes. Because I want the government to look into the issue of welfare. Welfare comprises so many things. It is not only farming, so other things that can be reduced so that the man that is working, who is a civil servant, will be able to say, yes, after getting my take-up money, I'll be able to use something. I'm going to use something to do something with it. But today, right now, what is the workforce of the Nigerian people in per se? The workforce is very few. Many people are not civil servants. Many people are not civil servants. The farmers in Nigeria today are even more than the civil servants. But we are not getting the benefit of that. It's okay, the government is releasing money for us and said, we are giving this target. If you don't meet to this target, if you are the chairman or you are the president, will be arrested. And we'll see if they are able to do that. Give us a trial. We're able to deliver more than expectation.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Ajibako. Before we get the thoughts of Professor Jobojo, let me just quickly highlight what His Royal Highness Bako has just said. You know, there's what we call the value of the naira. Now, he's saying that no matter the amount that labor unions are asking for, if the value of the naira is not improved, it will not buy enough. So, and it has just come from the angle of food, that food items, if we have plenty of food items in the market, then the value of the naira will be appreciable. The man will be able to buy enough for the family, the woman will be able to buy enough for the family. That's the point is canvassing, that there's need for federal government to invest in agriculture, and federal government can become what they call uptakers.
Yes.
Once the farmers are able to produce, the federal government will buy off the farmers and push it to the market. Simple economics. When supply is more than demand, price will
Yes.
crash. It's just elementary economics. Though Nigeria's situation, we will not say is defiling normal economics, but we know that people who can, intelligent people should just think of how to surmount our problems. Prof,
Yeah.
now I want us to look at this angle. Now, the labor leaders are asking for what the federal government think is impossible. The amount they are asking for. Some persons said they should have asked for a minimum wage of 100,000, not the amount they're asking that is almost 500 or thereabout. And those state government increased minimum wage to 7,000, and the workers applauded Governor Obaseki.
Yeah.
In short, that should have given federal government that sign that, oh, if a state government can approve 70,000, the federal government can just maybe go a little above it, 75 or 80 or thereabout.
Yes.
You know. So don't you think the federal government should look at this, and labor unions must shift ground? What they're asking for, what the federal government is willing to give.
Yes, thank you very much. I think that you know, there are quite a lot of fault lines in the whole whole exercise. A lot of fault lines, and one of the major fault lines, I think, is issue of trust, and so some element of bad faith too. Yeah. You know, when there's mistrust, then you have this bad faith or ill will towards each other. I think that the labor unions, because I belong to labor union, a trade union too, I think the union does not really have any good thing to say about the government of today. And they don't seem to trust government. They don't seem to even believe that the government means well for the average Nigerian, including the Nigerian worker. I think that may have propelled them to ask for that kind of humongous amount. Because when I saw the figure they asked for, even though I'm a worker myself, an employee of government, I was amazed and, of course, you know, kind of taken aback. So it's far from realism. And then government, on the other hand, too, maybe in response to their own, what they feel was outrageous, also made an outrageous offer. And these two extremes. Yes. When people take extreme positions, we were bound to have a conflict. And that was what you saw that ended up with the warning strike, or the strike, which is still hanging on like a noose, sort of Damascus over our head. We don't know what happened after the 5-day elapses. We don't know what happened doing now. So I think the unions must come off their high horses, just the way government should too. And like I said, shifting ground is very important. And in shifting ground, they should weigh all the options, like the Royal Highness have eloquently demonstrated. And of course, other commentators in your sister stations have made it clear. And I have also made it clear in some of my write-ups and commentaries on labor union and welfare and wage increase, that the issue is not about the figure. It shouldn't be so fixated about figure. Yeah. So what is important is the weight, like you actually observe with your summary, the weight, the value of the currency. We agree that the unions are arguing that because the naira has been grossly devalued, so you use the ratio of £1, $1, which is our major, to naira, and that is why they are at 600. But we should also factor the fact that the government will need to have so much of those dollars to convert to naira to sustain a wage increase that is very high. Yes. And then when you also want to do that, you look at the government from the two tiers of government, the federal and the state. And so, as we speak, some states are still not paying the 30,000.
Yes, that's the information we've got.
Some states have not been able to pay 30,000. That was implemented in 2019, 5 years after. And then the unions should be thinking of how viable the states are and whether the states can pay this humongous amount. The private sector is part of the negotiation team. We do not even know what the organized private sector, the OPS, they call them, what their feeling is about the figures are banding for now.
Yes.
And so they should not be so focused on the fact that federal government can pay. Federal government cannot wheel this figure down the throat of the state governors and the organized private sector. Because, of course, we know constitutionally it's not possible. The states are federated states. They have the autonomy, at least when it comes to workers, they employ and they pay. Like the state government did its own without waiting for any form of benchmark from the minimum wage law as it is. So I think what is important is that the figure that is payable should be arrived at. And I don't think anything...
Would you like to just tell us what you think is appropriate for in terms of minimum wage?
No, I think that since, this minimum wage is about relativity.
Yes, I know, but
as it goes
baseline.
Reduces. So I think a baseline should be 150,000 naira.
Okay.
That's down between 100 and 150. But we know as it goes up, it's crashing down for the higher income employees or workers. So government can now factor in how they can sustain that. And of course, a lot of commentaries have been made about how they can reduce cost of governance, right from the humongous money they spend on themselves, the government.
Don't you see that is what seems to be disturbing labor unions? When they think of what politicians take home. Yes.
That's the anger and the bad feeling.
Yes.
The anger and the, because when you see, the other, I was seeing a post of what they pay to a PA or so, I don't know if it's true. So when people see these things, when they see the waste in governance, the projects, the humongous amount you budget for white elephant projects, unions will not believe there's no money. It will be a hard sell to say there's no money. But the unions, because we have a short time, let me just add, the unions should be careful because, like I said, I've said it repeatedly in most of my treaties. When you ask for this kind of huge wage, even the 100 we are saying or 150, when government approves it, we should be wary about, first, unemployment. Government will not employ workers again because they won't want to increase their wage bill. Government will be wary about keeping workers. There will be ways to, very soon we'll be doing screening.
Yeah.
We'll look for ghost workers. Ghost workers is a euphemism for retrenchment.
Yes.
It's a way, it's a decoy for retrenchment. So there will be some level of downsizing. When you downsize, people lose their jobs. Then the private sector is even worse for it because some of them are relocating, the multinational are relocating. And it also beyond 25. So the organized private sector will just insist on employing 24, not more than 25 workers. So you see a big factory. And don't correct, we're talking about AI now, technology. AI is going about where the machine can do, computer can do most of your job. So they'll just keep their workers below 25. And when it's below 25, the law does not catch up with them. They can pay you one naira every month. And nobody can protect with them. The law says that when you employ 25 workers. So the figure that union should now fight for, the union that cost across board, that the state can pay, federal can pay, then we should now focus on the basics. Housing. How do you provide housing?
Yeah.
How do you work on the CNG buses and the rest to ensure that transport? How do you work on the free health services, through health insurance or whatever? How do you work on social security? How do you take care of our retirees? Water, food. We should not be paying so much for electricity. I'm happy that one of that demand, the tariff.
Yes, reduction.
So the tariff on electricity, reduce the VAT, tax. I'm happy that I just said that some, I'm sure Johannes will be happy about this, the realization about some products. They reduce some of the tariffs on some products, food products mainly, to make food available.
Okay. Thank you, Prof.
Those are the issues that should be concerning us, not figures to say I have enough. Because once you have such huge money, the inflation will just gallop it. So on the last night, if you pay minimum wage of maybe 500,000, house rent, one bedroom would be 100,000 naira a month.
Thank you, Prof.
One bedroom.
Thank you, Prof. Let me just quickly inform our viewer that we'll be having a special segment immediately after this, where my guest is already within the premises and will be joining us to talk about a governorship candidate of the PDP, Aswe Ighodalo, why you should know about him, why you should vote for him. We'll be talking about that. It's a special segment of 60 Minutes Nigeria for this week. But before we go, Your Highness, now what's your advice? Because they are negotiating now. We don't want strike that will paralyze the system again. So what's your advice in terms of your parting words?
Well, as a matter of fact, my advice is the labor union should put so many things into consideration. They should not be looking at the welfare of workers alone. What they will be demanding for right now is the things surrounding welfare. not the take-home page that is the only thing. And again, I also want the federal government to look at this issue of Nigeria becoming a dollar state. I think by now the use of dollar in Nigeria was supposed to have stopped it.
Yeah, I think the federal government have issued.
Yes, I think that would be the best thing we could have done right now, because today, right now, people steal a lot of money, go and change it to become small money with dollar. And when if you put $1,000 in your pocket, you know how many naira will come out from it. We should stop the using of dollar. Look at Russia. We would think that by this time we collapse, but today they are still doing well because they are not using dollar in their country. Let us look at our own naira. Let us build on our own naira so that the naira will have value. Because anywhere you go now, I went to a hotel in Abuja. They were telling me that you come and pay with dollar, and I don't even know what is dollar again this time. And I was asking the person, "Is it only dollar?" He said, "Yes, it's only dollar they pay." So I am appealing to the federal government. The issue of American dollars should be seized in Nigeria. We have naira that everybody, even the common person in the village, can also say, "I am using this naira." And Labour, please don't make things worse for us too much, because at the time you give people too much home pay. That means landlord who built his house 1960, we also increase it. We not forget that he built the house 1960 or 1945. Yes. We also increase his house rent. Yes. The market women will be looking at you to say, okay, you have gotten enough. Food price will also go up. Yes. And we, the farmers, will be saying, well, the people in the government are the ones eating money alone. So let us also see what you can do to get the money back from them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just a quick one, Prof. Just a quick one word so that we can end this segment.
Okay, well, just to round up, like I said, the unions should come closer to realism in terms of the figure, and they should also give government some chance to address issues of transportation, health, and other variables, accommodation, and the rest that will reduce the burden on workers and make workers enjoy their take-home pay whenever it's approved for them.
Okay, thank you very much. I want to thank Royal Highness Haji Bako. Thank you very much. Chairman of Farmers Association and chairman of all chairmen of that association. That's a good one. He has emphasized the importance of agriculture being given a boost so that we can have food. If there is food, people will not complain. Professor Joe Bojon, thank you very much.
Thank you too.
We've seen now that the laws are there and we have to obey. The rule of law must be given, must take, given the right priority if we want Nigeria to develop. You don't need to shut down the national grid. Essential services must be sustained.